This week on RuPaul's Drag Race, it's WTF, wrestling's trashiest fighters. That's why I'm wearing a sleeveless shirt. Is this white trash enough for this episode? Nah, wait. Now this is trashy. Ooh, even better. Let's get ready to rumble! Alright, so this week RuPaul actually has the guest judges be NBA stars. Rick Fox and John Sally. I don't know who the hell they play for, but apparently they're in the NBA. And they apparently really love the show, like most straight people. Well, the show starts out with us saying goodbye to Elisa Summers of Tampa. All the other queens joke that they want to switch Elisa for Jiggly. Poor Jiggly. And Latrice calls LaShawn Beyond a silent killer. But the other queens seem to think that LaShawn Beyond is just too shy for this competition. Personally, I think that LaShawn Beyond looks better out of drag. Looks really hot out of drag. It kind of looks like if you're looking the other direction, you're not paying attention to her face. His eyes will kind of go cross like this. Almost caught it right before a commercial break, his eyes doing that. But maybe it was just me. And did anybody else catch Milan's character in the mini challenge? You know, the padding challenge that they had? Milan looked like she was doing her Miss Cleo character from the Miss Cleo song, you know. Miss Cleo! Miss Cleo! I don't think you really know. Wasn't a good impression? Anyway, Fifi, Chad, and Willem were the winners of this challenge, and they actually got to be team captains for the main challenge, which was the wrestling challenge. Oh my god. The thumbnail on this video is gonna look horrible. Anyway, when they were picking the teams and everything, Madame LaQueer was actually the last person to be picked. Poor Madame LaQueer. God, I'll look like Lady Gaga mated with Jack Sparrow. Anyway, so Madame LaQueer tells us that her ankle was injured. And wanted everybody to know this before the challenge, just in case, you know, something should happen. I don't know if it was really an excuse as much as a warning to them not to have her being thrown or falling off of ropes or whatever, but they take it into account, and actually, they end up winning the challenge. Okay, so then we are introduced to the wrestling coaches. Don't know who these guys are. It was a Joey Ryan, a Cheeto Canales, Ryan Taylor maybe? I can't remember their names. Anyway, and I didn't write very good notes. Anyway, I think that they should replace the pit crew. Anyway, they all go out and they practice. And Kenya was so small that they could just pick her up and throw her wherever they wanted to throw her. Jiggly Caliente, as usual, was pretty aggressive and pretty annoying and talking about New York as if we didn't already know that she was from New York. And Madame LaQueer almost had an asthma attack and died on the mat. And as if that was not funny enough, once they finally got on the mat for the actual challenge itself and not through practice, Kenya was jumping around outside the ring, screaming like a rabid monkey. Fifi was pretty funny. But then there was Jiggly Caliente. Jiggly Caliente decided to tell us she's from New York. And she's loud. And she's annoying. Sharon Needles looked pretty in this challenge. But she didn't tuck very well. Once they get back to the workroom after the challenge, Jiggly Caliente, as usual, has to blame someone else for her overdramatic personality and her failures in the competition. So, she probably felt pretty insecure about the way she acted in the ring, so she decides to throw the princess under the bus, and says that the princess was not flashy or loud enough for them to win the competition. So then it was off to the runway challenge. First one out on the runway was Kenya Michaels, who did look like Nicki Minaj. And John Sally agreed. Everyone thought she looked like Nicki Minaj. And they called her the one to beat. Then we had LaShawn Beyond, who came out in a bubblegum dress. I actually liked the dress. I didn't think it was that bad at all, but the judges thought that it was not memorable and that she was a mess. Her personality was horrible, and Billy B said that she had a personality like a brick. Before I go on, can I just say I loved Michelle Visage's work necklace? Love that thing. Sharon Needles came out and did a very pretty and very classy runway performance, even if it was foreign to her. She kind of looked like Tammy Brown, though, from a previous season, but it didn't really matter because she was on Team Chad, which was the winning team, so she was safe for another week. Jiggly Caliente came out in a very unimpressive outfit. She had a lollipop in her mouth, which the judges seemed to like the lollipop, but they didn't like her at all. When it came time for the judges' critiques, Jiggly threw the princess under the bus again. Milan came out in a... Hold on. Seems like it was so unimpressive I forgot to write a note about Milan's outfit. But it didn't really matter. She was on the winning team, so she's safe for another week. Madame LaQueer came out in a very blue ensemble. It was actually very, very pretty. It really worked for her. And because she was on the winning team, she is safe for another week. And in fact, along with Chad Michaels, the team captain, she was the dual winner of this week's challenge. But they do not get immunity next week. Not quite sure what outfit Dita Ritz was going for. To me, it looked like something off of the movie White Chicks, but the judges also were not that impressed with it. They said it was more like Sex in the Alley than Sex in the City, which was apparently what Dita was going for. Team captain and winner for this week's challenge, Chad Michaels, came out and looked like Paris Hilton. And it really, really looked like Paris Hilton. I was impressed. Next up was the princess, who came out looking like Reba McEntire had stood in a wind tunnel. Now, I had predicted weeks and weeks and weeks ago, actually months ago now, that the princess would be gone by week 4. And so I was stoked when she ended up in the bottom 2 and had to lip sync for her life. Next up was Fifi. Time out, time out, time out. This stupid bandana thing is freaking hot as hell. Ugh. 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 Much better. I think I will keep the holy glasses, though. I can see clearly now. Remember where the hell I am here. Okay, Fifi. Fifi reminded me of Tyra Sanchez with her outfit. Some of the judges said that she looked too old. But Michelle Visage loved her. Then we had Latrice Royale, who came out in a very super hot pink outfit. Kind of looked like Oprah to me. Everyone loved her. Lastly, we had Willem, who came out in an outfit that looked almost exactly like her outfit from the Apocalypse last week, minus the gas mask. So, apparently, this is what she's going to be doing every week. So, the final 2 who had to lip sync for their lives was LaShawn Beyond and the princess, which I'm happy to report were both in my bottom 4, and I said that they were more than likely going to go home within the first 4 weeks. So I was very happy that at least one of them was going to go home this week, and I would be right at least once. Well, turns out it was LaShawn Beyond that was sent packing, and it was a very quick sachet away. Like, RuPaul didn't even mince words. She was just like, bye! See you later. And LaShawn Beyond, later on the Untucked episode, said that she wasn't surprised that RuPaul actually made the right decision, so she wasn't upset about it. Now that's what I call class. You juxtaposition that with Elisa Summers' exit last week, where she said, I think there should have been, some other queens that should have gone before me. And she was right. I mean, I think Jiggly Caliente should have went home. But you juxtaposition that against LaShawn Beyond this week, who was like, I'm not mad about it. RuPaul made the right decision. I should be going home. I personally just wanted Jiggly Caliente to go home. But that's just me. You can sashay away too. I was going to do a whole entire episode, entire video on Untucked review. But I'll just try to squeeze it in here to the last 5 minutes on this video. I mean, it's not like it's going to be an in-depth review, because you could have subtitled this episode of Untucked as The Intervention with Jiggly Caliente. Everyone, no matter where they were at, whether they were on the stage talking to the judges, or they were talking in Interior Illusions Lounge, or they were talking in the Gold Room, everybody was just talking about Jiggly Caliente. And they all don't like her. It's not that they don't like her. In fact, they love her. But they think that she bullies the other queens. And that she's masking the fact that she, has insecurities about her weight, and about, the way she looks, her face, the fact that she can't sew, which she keeps reminding us every time you turn around that she can't sew. She's always making up excuses. There's this wall that's built up around her, and some of the queens actually managed to get that wall to break down. That included Latrice and Fifi. Fifi was not so much a bitch in this episode. Fifi was actually quite motherly in this episode. They get Jiggly to cry and admit that she puts up this wall because her boy side doesn't feel loved enough. So her girl side happens to strike out against anybody else that tries to love her back. And also, she admits that she was bullied, which just about everybody else was too, as Fifi reminds us. So we find out that Sharon Needles is dating Alaska. Alaska actually gets to do a video call to Sharon in the gold room. Sharon gets a prize. And Sharon is very nice, very motherly in this episode as well. She loves Chad Michaels. So we find out that Chad Michaels gets injections, or got injections, I should say, way back when he was 21, to try to be more like Cher. And Chad Michaels advises everyone to not ever get silicone injections. But Sharon talks about how Jiggly attacked her boyfriend and said that Jiggly thinks it's disgusting to date a drag queen. I just don't see it. So Jiggly is not liking all the criticism that she's getting, especially on the runway. And she says that she feels like she's getting thrown under the bus. Well, that's the pot calling the kettle black, because she did the exact same thing multiple times with the princess. But, it is what it is. So Jiggly finally tells the other girls. Now, this is before Sharon Needles and Chad Michael, Team Chad basically, comes back into the room. But Jiggly Caliente, basically, the walls come down, and she starts crying, and she tells everybody that the reason why she's acting the way she is because she just recently lost her mother, and she's dealing with that. Now, I can understand that, because when I lost my mother, grief is a 7-stage process. And there's anger, there's, sadness, depression. There's 7 different stages, and it takes a while to get over. For me, it took an entire year. I forget when her mother died, but it was fairly recently, so she's going through quite a bit. And it especially is more poignant and more traumatic to your psyche if there were unresolved issues with your mother, like if she didn't accept you for who you are, or you perceived that she didn't accept you for who you are. You're going to go through the anger stage a little bit longer than most people. And I think that's what Jiggly was going through. And you really don't really know why you act the way you do when you're grieving. So I can kind of feel sorry for her in that way, because she may be acting out or bullying, as an insecurity mechanism, as a defense mechanism, as they call it. But anyway, Sharon Needles comes into the room and calls her out on the fact that she said that it was disgusting for Sharon to be dating a drag queen. And immediately, those walls go right back up, and Jiggly starts attacking Sharon again. She admits probably she shouldn't have used the word disgusting, but she still says it's a personal issue that Sharon has against her, and that it's not her fault. And that's where the episode ended. So the intervention apparently failed. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Next week, it appears that they're going to recycle the infomercial challenge, which has been quite popular on RuPaul throughout the years. So we get to enjoy the infomercial episode next week, which has traditionally been my least favorite one. When they did the exercise infomercial, I didn't like any of the infomercial episodes in the previous seasons, but we'll see. Maybe I'll enjoy it this year.